Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Time is a mysterious force. Simple minds would like to view it as linear, seeing one event occurring in a sequence towards an end, never breaking or fluctuating in the slightest. This is only partially true, for within every microsecond within the flow, a single event can spiral out into a nearly infinite point of possibility. It would be better to view time more akin to a three-dimensional object, with each sequence interconnected to each other, continuing forward with a possibility to spiral in any sort of direction. The greatest problem that we humans have is that we are never able to foresee any of this variance for ourselves. Unless, of course, you were prepared to undergo a rather interesting voyage. Wait until the last day of the year. It will not work in any other time frame. Be sure to prepare your own mind beforehand. You are about to enter into a space most human beings are not supposed to. When you are prepared, on the last day of any given year, travel into the most secluded forest you can find. Bring a small knife, nothing more. Any forest will do, just be sure that absolutely no other human being is around you during this process. You will not be able to bring a friend, and you must ensure that you are as far away as you can possibly be from any sort of civilization. Find a place of total darkness, be it a cave, a grove of trees, anything that sends a chill down your spine or a subtle twinge of fear. It should happen to any being isolated so far away from their habitation. The eyes of known and unknown predators will be glaring upon you. Do not submit to your fear or exhibit any signs of it. Doing so will be a sign of weakness, and you'll learn firsthand what only the strong shall survive means. Remain calm. Remain collected. Sit yourself in the darkest, coldest part of the wilderness you can. Make sure you are able to do this right at the passing of the new year, preferably 10 or so minutes before the day ends. Take out the knife and prick every one of your fingers gently. Clasp each of your hands together, with each finger firmly pressed against the other finger, and start squeezing until blood starts dripping down onto the ground below you. Close your eyes, take in a deep breath, and clear your mind of all thoughts. Whisper out into the dank coldness, "I seek variance." If done correctly, at the passing of the old year into the new, you will begin to notice it immediately. If you still hear the sounds you heard before within the wilderness, you have failed. You will have to try again next year. However, if every decimal of sound is suddenly silenced, do not open your eyes. No one who has ever heard from again. Upon noticing the silence, you will begin to feel the flow of blood from your hands quicken. From what was just lightly dripping onto the ground before will be running quickly. You must keep them tightly pressed against each other. Within minutes, you will start to lose feeling within your hands. They will go numb. You will begin to feel this numbness move its way up towards your arms, then into your chest, then down your legs. Every part of your body will feel as if all energy were slowly being siphoned out, and you will begin to feel as if you were dying. Do not move. Do not attempt to flee. Do not panic. Doing so will ensure your death. Upon losing the last remaining bits of feeling within your body, you will suddenly feel warmth. Swirls of color will enter into your vision. Brilliant lines of every color rapidly filling every space of your closed-eyed vision. The colors will twist and turn to form a small room illuminated in light. You will only see this for a few seconds, and then your vision will return to the same closed-eyed blackness it was before. All the energy will return to you suddenly, and a small voice of a child will call out to you. And then another voice of a child will call out. You will identify them as a boy and a girl. When they greet you, it will be safe to open your eyes. You will notice that your hands are completely fine. The small wounds you inflicted upon them are gone. You will also notice that you are sitting within the room that you saw constructed from the brilliant swirls of color moments before, when you held your eyes closed. The children will smile at you. The physical composition of each of these children will vary upon how you look. As you inspect them, you will notice that they have the exact same eye color, skin color, and hair color as you. In fact, every aspect of both of these children is an exact correlation towards your own, yet they will always be perfectly shaped and quite beautiful. You must realize that these beings are apparitions of an existence long forgotten. They take the appearance of two children shaped after your own creation to ease your mind. One presenting itself as a possibility of how you would have looked depending on the gender you were born into. They will smile and ask for what did you come here for. The only response that is known to cause the continuation of this journey is I seek to gaze upon variance. Both of the children will turn to each other, nod, and then smile. They will each offer their hand to you. Take it gently, and a pale green doorway will suddenly construct itself in front of you. It will open automatically, and you will see nothing but a blank slate of whiteness up ahead. The children will lead you towards it, and you must trust them. You will see nothing but blank whiteness up until the first few steps forward. And then, wrapped all around you, you will see the starting sequences of your life. It shall be like walking down a giant tunnel. Only you will be walking on seemingly thin air. The children will talk about what they are and why they take the form they do. They will explain to you, as various sequences of your life play all around you, how this entire process is possible. And then, up upon the moment where you witness the most current event of your life unfold, one where you partook upon coming into this journey, everything will turn blank. Save for a small little corner, which will show your body with both eyes closed, meditating in the darkness of the wilderness. The children will turn to you and say you can now gaze upon all variances. You may see the possibility relying on every event that may come, and anything pertaining to your world. When this happens, you can tell the children to show you anything. Whether it be events pertaining solely to your own personal life, or events pertaining to the possible rises and decimations of human civilization. They will flash before you in random sequences, possible endings and beginnings, from the most horrific of nightmares to the most beautiful euphoria. Every event and possibility will cascade one into each other, showing any sort of plausible direction the flow of whatever you seek could go. Sometimes, even the most unrealistic and paranormal situation will be revealed. But, for as long as you witness this, there will be one item that remains static within this maelstrom of dynamic shifts. The image of you, meditating deep within the cold darkness of the wilderness. Always, ensure you keep a close eye on that image. For time will continue within it. Soon, you might see your body shake. You might see the color fade from your skin. You might see a predator slowly creep its way towards you with a hunger lingering in its eyes. If you witness any of these events, immediately speak to the children and say, "I have seen what I have wanted, but I must go now. Thank you for showing me what you have." Always, make sure you thank them, for these beings take disrespect rather seriously. They will smile, nod, and instantly the realm will vanish back into the close-eyed darkness you were in before the vision occurred. Upon opening them, you will be back within the same spot you sat upon within the wilderness before, during the dawn of the first day of the new year. You may repeat this process as many times as you dare so. Doing so will be able to equip you with a foresight that could prove to be quite useful for whatever goals you wish to accomplish within life. Always remember, what is foreseen within is not necessarily guaranteed to happen. You will not be able to completely predict the future, only foresee a small glimpse of the infinite possibilities it can spiral towards. Whether you wish to use it for the betterment of all beings, or for your own personal gratification, is a choice I leave up to you.
Prominently displayed in the children's section of the Houston Downtown Public Library, among several others of the same title, my first cookbook appears as a run-of-the-mill children's cookbook, complete with large print, simple instructions, colorful, friendly illustrations and a somewhat disproportionate desert section. In fact, the only major deviation from this theme is an article near the end of the book entitled A Recipe for Success. This is a complex, macabre ritual involving human sacrifice, self-mutilation and sacrilege, as well as more curious and innocuous practices such as walking down a staircase with a prime number of stairs taking them 2 at a time and then up it taking them 3 at a time. It's written in the same cheerfully simple prose as the rest of the book and accompanied by the same helpful, pastel drawings.
During the first outbreak of the Black Death, there were frequent reports of groups of the infected wandering the abandoned fields, attacking villages and travelers at random. They were slow and unhealthy and thus were easily avoided or killed and didn't pose much trouble. In Ireland, fearing the plague was God's wrath, a monastery decided to devote themselves to pious acts of complete selflessness. After attempting to offer help to a group of the wandering infected, one of their monks was bitten and they retreated. The monk contracted the Black Death and died a few days later, but in his last words he expressed his fear that this was punishment for retreating and not for giving and caring for the damned, the ultimate act of selflessness. The monks managed to track down the wandering infected, capture them and restrain them in their monastery where they cared for them. As the years passed, the wandering infected showed no signs of healing. Decades passed, and the next generation of monks declared their apparent longevity as a miracle, turning the care of the infected into a cult-like tradition. It is believed they are still alive, cared for and kept secret by the monastery.
It is said that at least once in your life you see death. Not when you are about to die or particularly interested in you, just at a random opportune time, and only momentarily you see death in his pitch-black cloak walking or waiting. Some have even seen him sitting on a park bench. There seem to be only 2 patterns throughout the sightings, though there was one exception to the rule, as I will explain in a moment. 1. They don't think they were looking at death when they saw him. 2. All feel as though they lost some sort of innocence that day. Some superstitious belief seeing death causes you to lose an innocence that never permits you to be as happy again. I believe this is jumping to conclusions, as death's momentary appearance may be in effect as much of a cause as the end of true happiness. The exception to the rule occurred during an unfortunate premature birth induced by injury from a car accident. The doctor believed that the placenta had detached, and he had to remove the baby via cesarean section immediately before the woman's injuries. The whole situation was an emergency, and the situation was too hectic to remove the shocked husband. As the doctor and nurses were consumed with their tasks, the husband, holding his wife's hand, looked out across the room and saw death approaching. Knowing he was coming for his child or his wife, he shed a tear silently. He described himself as in sorrow, but in a solemn state of acceptance. His attention was distracted by the sound of an 8-month fetus crying, and he was removed by some of the staff so they could take his wife and child away to somewhere sanitary for medical care. Not only was this an exception to Rule 1, since the man knew it was death, but an exception to Rule 2, since the man later became a father of 3 and led a happy family life.
I have really done it this time. I thought it would be cool to experiment with the mind, to plumb the dark places in my subconscious. I took it lightly. Oh, the terrors I have unleashed. Even as I type this, I feel my sanity slipping away. The visions grow darker every time, and I am afraid of what further evils I may commit when I black out. I have had problems with sleep paralysis my whole life. My earliest memory of it is as a young toddler, I'm not sure how old. I would wake up and it seemed to manifest itself as a huge daddy long-legged spider sitting on my chest. I never gave it a second thought while I was a kid. It was an occasional bother and I didn't understand it, so I just tried not to think about it. When I was about 10 or so, I started to become interested in gray aliens and was obsessed with the idea that I might be abducted. So the sleep paralysis manifested itself as such. God, I used to think that was scary, but now what I wouldn't give to just be on those big-eyed freaks' operating table again. Anything but this. When I was a teenager, we got the internet and I found a bulletin board system devoted to sleep disorders and began posting about my problems there. It was comforting to talk to others about it, and for a while it almost completely subsided. Almost. Every now and then I would have a waking dream, but now I knew how to zone it out and ignore any terrible shit that seemed to be happening. Then a few months ago someone posted this miracle cure to all sleep disorders. It was a ritual of sorts. It involved sleep deprivation and other stimuli. You also had to download a special song. The song was odd itself, silent for about half an hour, and then the sound built up so gradually that it didn't wake you. So me and pretty much everyone else on the bulletin board system attempted this method. I didn't notice anything at first, but then it hit me. I seemed to be cured. I continued to post on the bulletin board system, mainly out of curiosity at what others' experience with the ritual was. Oddly, posting had severely tapered off since the ritual was posted. In fact, the only thread with replies was the thread about the ritual. It was all positive feedback, just as with me, people just kind of snapped out of it. But then about a week into it, one guy came back with this horror story. He said that he had blacked out and woke up hours later, his left shoulder mysteriously out of socket and hurting badly. Most shrugged it off and said that there must be a margin for error. But then it got worse. Someone claimed to be hallucinating, that he couldn't tell if he was awake or in a lucid dream. The stories came pouring in by the second week after the ritual was first described. People would black out and then wake up having endured, or sometimes inflicted, injuries ranging from cuts and scrapes to broken bones. And no one was getting any sleep. I thought I was lucky. Or that it was bullshit. It wasn't happening to me, but I discontinued the use of the ritual anyway. Now that I think about it, that was when it started for me. I would black out, minutes at a time at first, then wake up with bloody knuckles. I could usually look around and find the part of my room I had smashed from the spot I woke up in. It started happening so frequently that one day I decided to bind my hands. That day I woke from a blackout with a bloodied forehead and a pounding headache. After a while I just tried not to think about it. I tried to revisit the bulletin board system, but it had apparently been taken down by the owner. No explanation, no nothing. The blackouts were now wearing me down. My hands were fractured badly in several spots. I was doing any drug I could get my hands on in hopes of some kind of reprieve. It did not come. Then one day I blacked out in my room, but woke up outside, in the middle of the night. The surroundings were unfamiliar. I then noticed that my clothes were sticky. It was too dark to see then, but it was blood. My blood. Some of the fingers on my right hand had been sliced off at an angle. I ran in one direction until I was exhausted. I hit a highway at some point and blacked out again. This time I awoke in a prison cell. My hand had received some medical attention. Eventually my mother came to bail me out. On the ride home I blacked out. That was days ago. I woke up here in my room today. There's something under my bed. Something that smells rotten. I don't think I could have done this. I just wanted a good night's sleep. I've got some sleeping pills here. Maybe they'll work this time, if I take enough.
It's that time of night again. You've gone to 4chan, clicked on the lowercase x between the slashes, and you're reading your daily dose of creepypasta. It's become kind of an evening ritual for you. You read all of these increasingly bizarre or spine-tingling tales. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. As you read through the stories, you get goosebumps. Your chest tightens. Your eyes widen as you scroll down the screen, taking in as much of the horror show as you can handle before heading over to /b/ for a few minutes to browse through the funny pictures and dependably inane threads. Soon your heart rate slows down, the hair on the back of your neck lies down, and you head back to /x/ to read some more creepypasta. It's an enjoyable practice, and it's all in good fun. But when you close out of your browsers, shut down your computer, and lie down for the evening, it comes. It's not a creature or a ghost or a demon of old. It's not something from another plane or another world. It's just the stories you read not so long ago. You may cower under your sheets or turn on a light, but no matter what you try to do, you can't drive back the one beastie that will inevitably seize you in the middle of the night. As your imagination runs wild, flushing out details in the sparse stories that serve only as a bare outline for what you see in your mind's eye, take note of how depraved your artistic flourishes have become after reading creepypasta night after night. Odds are the real monster in the dark of your room will be you.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.